23andMe delivers an incredible service. Send them a saliva sample in a tube, and remarkably, they transform that into comprehensive personalized reports. We're talking ancestry details, ethnicity breakdowns, and insights into potential health risks. The amount you can discover about yourself through this process is genuinely impressive. While this might seem routine today, these consumer genetic tests represent the culmination of years of groundbreaking research, particularly the Human Genome Project. That monumental initiative launched in 1990, requiring more than 10 years and billions in funding to decode the complete human genome sequence. I'm certainly not claiming expertise in biology or genetics, but my understanding is that this project enabled individual DNA sequencing, though initially at prohibitive costs inaccessible to ordinary people. Steve Jobs, for instance, reportedly invested $100,000 to have his genome analyzed, hoping it would guide more targeted cancer treatments. Hey, quick favor before we dive deeper. If you're enjoying this deep dive into 23 and collapse, smash that like button and subscribe. Now let's continue. Subsequent technological advances enabled more cost-effective genotyping rather than full sequencing, dramatically reducing prices and paving the way for 23andMe's creation. The company's name is actually quite clever. The 23 represents our chromosome pairs and is DNA reversed, and me emphasizes the personal nature of the service. Plus, it's catchy. Overall, I call that excellent branding. 3 individuals founded the company, with Wojcicki emerging as the most prominent, becoming CEO, board chairman, and majority owner, controlling 49% of the company. Let me highlight why Wojcicki seemed uniquely suited to launch this venture. She grew up in Silicon Valley, where her father taught physics at Stanford. After earning her biology degree from Yale University, she spent years on Wall Street as a healthcare investment analyst. But there's more. Her sister played a crucial role at Google, facilitating YouTube's acquisition and serving as YouTube CEO for nearly a decade. The connections deepen. Shortly after founding 23andMe, she married Sergey Brin, Google's co-founder, who channeled millions into her startup. In late 2007, 23andMe launched its consumer DNA testing kits at $999, a relatively accessible price point for that era. The excitement was palpable. Time magazine declared it the year's top invention. Over time, 23andMe attracted growing customer numbers, increased valuation, and widespread acclaim. It appeared 4 consecutive times on CNBC's Disruptor 50 list beginning in 2016 and steadily became a familiar household name while drawing continued investor interest. The company reached its zenith in 2021, achieving approximately $6 billion in market value. According to Forbes, Wojcicki officially joined the billionaire ranks that year, but everything has spiraled downward since then. 23andMe has shed nearly all its value and faced delisting threats from NASDAQ, as shares plummeted well below the $1 threshold. The company implemented multiple workforce reductions, experienced declining sales, and faced profound uncertainty about its future. Wojcicki had been pushing to take the company private again, hoping to escape the constant short-term investor pressure from public markets. This strategy backfired spectacularly when all 7 independent board directors resigned in September 2024, stating they lacked clarity about the company's direction and disagreed with its strategic path. Among those directors was YouTube's current CEO, who expressed surprise and disappointment at this decision. It became clear things were collapsing. The company was burning through cash rapidly and appeared headed toward either a forced sale or bankruptcy. And then it happened. In March 2025, 23andMe filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, and Wojcicki stepped down as CEO to position herself as an independent bidder for her own company. There's tremendous complexity here, so let me explain why this once promising company faced such catastrophic decline. Reason number 1, never profitable. The fundamental issue is straightforward but devastating: failure to achieve profitability. This explains their current crisis and cash shortage. The company spends far more than it generates. The underlying causes will become clearer as I continue, but immediately understand this. 23andMe never turned a profit and currently loses more money than ever. Their second quarter fiscal 2025 net loss totaled $59.1 million, though narrowed from the previous year. Revenue fell to $40 to $44 million, declining approximately 34% compared to the prior year, primarily due to reduced research revenue and fewer kit sales. Initially, even the comparatively affordable $999 price tag remained too steep for most consumers. They gradually slashed prices to $99, attracting over 15 million lifetime customers while consistently losing money throughout. Reason number 2, customer retention struggles. 23andMe has faced enormous difficulty keeping customers engaged. Consider whether this describes your experience. Most people eagerly take the test, receive results, learn about their genetics, then completely lose interest in the company. In 2024, revenue dropped to $44.1 million from $50 million the previous year, continuing a troubling trend that began years earlier. Around 2019, sales from testing kits started falling significantly for the first time. A prevalent theory suggested that most interested consumers had already completed their tests. Trust me, this concern existed well before then. Around 2010, while working to reduce prices and increase accessibility, they experimented with mandatory subscriptions accompanying initial purchases. When they first introduced the $99 test price, you could only access it by committing to a year-long $9 monthly subscription providing updates about discoveries specific to your DNA. That particular model didn't last. In 2020, they launched a yearly premium subscription offering additional reports and advanced features. Again, a reasonable attempt to maintain customer engagement, but it simply hasn't generated sufficient results. Recent reports show they're losing subscribers. Though membership services represented 21% of total revenue versus 9% the prior year, it remains a small portion of overall revenue. This leads directly into my next point. Reason number 3, medical value questions. The service essentially comprises 2 parts, one focusing on ancestry and ethnicity, while the other examines health. Multiple aspects exist, but primarily they analyze your DNA to determine genetic predisposition to various health conditions. Overall, health has been 23andMe's greater emphasis. They've encountered significant issues with this approach, particularly regarding FDA regulations. In 2010, the FDA established rules requiring approval before selling services evaluating disease risk, exactly what 23andMe provided. They continued selling without approval until 2013, when the FDA issued a warning. They were forced to stop generating health-related reports in the U.S., providing only ancestry information. Over subsequent years, they secured necessary approvals. By 2019, they fully pivoted their marketing toward health aspects over ancestry. This likely made sense considering their main competitor, Ancestry.com, obviously concentrates more heavily on genealogy. Ancestry.com even discontinued their brief ancestry health service, creating clearer distinction between the 2 companies. In 2018, 23andMe struck a 5-year exclusive partnership with London pharmaceutical giant GSK. The concept was that GSK would utilize genetic data accumulated from 23andMe's tests to develop beneficial drugs. Today, that exclusivity has ended, concluding in July 2023, and things look questionable. FDA drug approval requires over a decade. With 23andMe in such precarious condition now, uncertainty looms whether they'll survive long enough to reach that point. Additionally, in 2021, 23andMe paid $400 million to acquire Lemonade, a telehealth company. We can see how they evolved into a more health-focused company, though this involved considerable risk. Reason number 4, the entertainment divide. I believe a significant disconnect exists between the company and its customers. From my perspective, 23andMe aspires to be a serious, important company helping treat or even save lives through genetic information. If someone discovers genetically elevated heart disease risk, 23andMe wants them consulting their doctor about prevention, investigating how medications might interact, adjusting their diet accordingly, obtaining additional reports, essentially incorporating that information as a serious component of their healthcare plan. They've invested heavily in FDA approvals, acquisitions, and other initiatives to become more medically credible. Meanwhile, most customers, I suspect, view it more as entertainment. They take the test because learning about their genetics seems fun, without real intentions to modify their lifestyle based on results. If customers approached it more seriously, I suspect they'd willingly pay higher prices for tests and show greater inclination to subscribe to premium services. Reason number 5, privacy concerns. Unfortunately, this issue has multiple layers, but fundamentally, people feel uncomfortable having their genetic information exposed. In 2019, when sales began falling significantly, Wojcicki theorized that privacy concerns played a major role. Even today, with ownership likely changing, previous test takers worry about their accumulated genetic data, who gains access, what they'll do with it, and whether existing laws provide adequate protection. The specific data isn't protected by HIPAA, which would safeguard it in traditional medical settings. On top of these concerns, 23andMe experienced a 2023 data breach, exposing account information from 6.9 million users, nearly half their customer base. I'm talking about locations, birth dates, ancestry reports, and other information. The company stated they incurred $2.7 million in expenses directly related to it, and in 2024, there was a $30 million settlement connected to this breach. The bankruptcy and what came next. In November 2024, 23andMe announced it was cutting 40% of its workforce, over 200 employees, and discontinuing all therapeutics programs. They ended their audacious bet made nearly a decade ago, that they could use collected genetic data not only to assist drug companies, but to become one themselves. Then came the bankruptcy process. Initially, Regeneron Pharmaceuticals won an auction to acquire the company for $256 million in May 2025. This sparked massive outcry. The prospect of millions of people's genetic information passing to a pharmaceutical company raised serious privacy alarms. More than 24 states sued to halt the deal, arguing genetic information represents fundamentally different property than what normally changes hands in bankruptcy sales. Wojcicki argued she'd been unfairly excluded from bidding, claiming financial backing from an unnamed Fortune 500 company. The bankruptcy court reopened the auction, and 23andMe submitted a bid of $305 million, outbidding Regeneron. In June 2025, a bankruptcy judge approved the sale of 23andMe to 23andMe Research Institute, a nonprofit run by Wojcicki herself. The deal effectively returned control to Wojcicki at $305 million, a 98% drop from its previous peak valuation. 23andMe stands for 23andMe, a nod to the original company. Under the agreement, a consumer privacy board will be established within 90 days, and new privacy procedures will be adopted. Customers will receive 2 years of complimentary identity theft monitoring services. The nonprofit committed to honoring existing privacy policies, allowing customers to delete their data and opt out of research. The sale closed in July 2025, transforming 23andMe from a public corporation into a nonprofit research institute led by its original founder. Conclusion: 23andMe represents a complete mess. Something beginning with such promise rapidly became a cautionary tale. Let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts about 23andMe? Is it genuinely useful, something fun to try once for $99, or something you'd rather avoid entirely? I'm curious if you've taken the test previously and whether your results felt meaningful in any way. Overall, I'm confident at least some of those 15 million customers benefited from knowing more about their genetic makeup. On the other hand, substantial money was lost, considerable private information was leaked, and, as of right now, almost no tangible reason exists to believe this company, even as a nonprofit, will ever achieve sustainability. I'm just saying, if this video somehow made you want to get tested, it might represent a unique historical moment to do so under this new nonprofit structure. Also, I want to clarify these are simply the factors I felt were most impactful in the company's decline. Please let me know if you think anything should be added or removed, and share any other thoughts you have about 23andMe or genetic testing generally. Leave them in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you for watching.